And we are live. So happy to be here tonight. Obviously, things are just a little bit different because we're going to be jumping from the pep to table here tonight, which is super fun. We don't do this normally. So we're going to be hopping on today, and today I thought I would go through and sort of explain the process, not just of unfolding a model, but how do we take the actual two-dimensional representation in Pepakura and go through and scale it and print it properly. I thought I might go through some math. There'll be math. But I also thought it'd just make me nice to show everybody the exact settings that I use, because I think sometimes things can get a little lost in translation between exporting this for PDFs and actually printing on your home printer, and what kind of printing settings you're going to use. So I just thought we'd really dig in tonight. So please join me. Follow along if you'd like. These templates in particular are down below in the description, as are our Stormtrooper templates that we finished up last week. So feel free to follow along. With that, I am going to jump over to... Alright, so this here is actually our Dr. Fate helmet. I'm really excited. This is a modified version of JF Custom's templates, which his templates aren't bad. I just really simplified the hell out of them, which makes it great for a foam build, frankly. You can actually see I've got them laying over here just on the floor because I'm a terribly organized man. You can see these are actually the templates that I used to make a few recent Dr. Fate masks. It's quite simple. It's two pieces for the front, for both sides that just sort of wrap together here to create each side of the helmet. And then I've also got the fin on the top, and it's really that simple as a template, which is one of the reasons this is a great sort of beginner piece. But it's also a great way to flex on your ability to make super smooth objects. You can see that I've gone through and significantly smoothed some of the shapes, specifically the outer edges where these meet along the center line, as well as across this right here. Which is, it's important. Ooh, one moment. Monitor. We're going to capture the cursor. Sorry about that. Now you can see what I'm doing. So I went through, and it really makes it... I do sell props. Actually, I just sold 2 completed Dr. Fate masks. You can check out my Etsy. I believe there's a link to my Etsy store in this description as well. I also take commissions. But these were some tidy little props. So we're just kind of going to go through this now. I thought it might be nice to lead this with just a sort of a fun little video real quick of me sort of taking the 3D and turning it into 2D. This is basically what we wind up doing every week on live stream. Whoops. And it's pretty simple. All that's happening here is I took all the 3D parts, I've unfolded them by hitting that unfold button in the 3D window, and I'm throwing them into the 2D window where I'm just simplifying all of these shapes. You can see here I was actually fiddling with it a lot to try and get these shapes as smooth and as clean as possible so that they could all be one piece. Initially, when I printed these out, they were a lot more of a hot mess, and I just sort of fudged around it until it was something that I wanted and something that I liked. But for this, I thought I would make something that's a little cleaner out of the printer. And you can see here I'm also making sure that the opposite side is the exact same way. The largest differences ultimately between this template and the things that JF Custom just puts out on its own are the eyes and the smoothness of some of these darts. Of course, he also his patterns tend to be a lot more complicated than I think foam patterns need to be. So you can see me grotesquely oversimplifying this until it's really something that's quite easy to work with. And then I went through and I actually went back and added some tick marks there. And that's really all it took to unfold this model. It was pretty simple. It's probably one of the shorter sessions I've done. I think it took me like 15 minutes total to do this. And so that's kind of why I wanted to get into this right here, right now. I'm going to bring myself back up now. There we go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to print these out. So what we do to do that is first I want to make sure that all of my parts are on the pages and they're inside these dotted lines here. These dotted lines represent the printable area, the area that's actually going to print. So if I were to move this over like that, it'll print everything and it'll slice off that section there and I won't get that part. So I'm going to Control Z because I don't want that. I want this all on there. Then I'm going to go to Settings, Print and Paper Settings. And you always want to check to see what kind of paper you're printing on and what your margins are like. If you have a cheap printer like mine, you like to keep your margins pretty wide. I have almost a 1/2 inch margin on all sides, just because I don't want it to clip anything off. I don't want anything being cut off by my printer. Hey there, Koa. And of course, I prefer to print my lines smoothly more so than clearly. Because I can always sort of cut through things, but I rather it's a little clearer, a little smoother there. I also set my transparency down to 0 because we want these lines to be fully visible, no transparency. I don't fully get why that slider is there. I think it's so that you can print on like colored paper if you're doing like paper craft, so you can make the lines very, very faint. But obviously these are just templates that we're transferring to foam, so we want them to be big, bold, clear. And then we want to do 2 things here that we want to make sure are absolutely for certain on our print-offs. We want to print the page number, which will indicate the row and column as well as which page you're on, as well as alignment marks for multiple pages. This will allow us to line up our pages in such a way that we can actually make sure that everything is coming back together, because of course this pattern in particular is on 4 different pages and we want to be able to line those pages up. So all of that together, I keep my bitmap very high because there's no reason not to on my computer. I can't imagine a system that can't handle it, frankly. And then we're actually going to go to scale it before we do anything else. So in the 2D menu, you can change the size of the object just overall, and it scales in overall dimensions, so the absolute width and height and length of your piece. So when I go to 2D menu, change scale, I can just sort of bump it up 10% or down 10%. So if I were just to scale it down 10%, see, it gets a little bit smaller, but everything's still in proportion to one another. But I'm going to undo that because I want it to stay here for now. And I'm going to go to Set Scale. Now, I work in like imperial measurements. I work in inches. Just because that's easier for me. A lot of my tools are in inches, so it makes sense for me that I'm working in inches. But you can change that. Actually, I'll show that off real quick. If you just go to Settings, go to Unit of Length, you can change it to millimeters. I'm going to keep it in inches for now. You can also change the size of all these buttons. Like I could, I'd have to restart Pepakura to change that. My bad. That's okay. We're just going to go back to change scale. Set scale. Awesome. So right now it's set to an overall height of 15 inches, which I don't think is inappropriate. This is 12 inches, so 15 inches is about there, which means it's overall height of about 15 inches. That seems to make a lot of sense for me with that fin. But let's say we wanted it to be 16 inches overall. We could do that. All we got to do is change the overall height to 16. Right? Exactly. And then it would just bump that up until it's 16 inches. And now, of course, I'd have to rearrange it a little bit. I have to fiddle with it until it's on fewer pages again. But that's okay, because we're scaling it to the proper dimensions. Now, let's say we wanted to do something a little more complex. Let's say I wanted to go to Edit Mode under 2D menu, measure a distance between 2 points. Now, let's say I really want the distance between the eyes to be the exact same as the distance between my eyes. So the distance between, like, the pupils of my eyes, like on center, if we will, is about 3 inches. It's about 3, maybe a little more. Let's call it 3.25. Say it's 3.25 inches, and I want on center right here to also be 3.25. Well, right now it's 3.62. So there's a math problem that we can do to solve between these, and it comes from, I'm just gonna grab a piece of paper. And it comes from ratios and fractions, which I know are everybody's favorites. But the idea is that because we're working in scale, 2 ratios between the overall scale and a single dimension must be equal. So I want it to be 3.25 inches, but it is 3.62. And then I go to scale, change scale, set scale, and the current scale is 2.411338. And I want to find X. Now I know this is a ton of fun for everybody, looking at these fractions and looking at this math, but it's actually quite simple. See, all you have to do is cross multiply these. So you multiply 3.25 by the current scale, and then you multiply X by 3.62, which means that we can multiply these two. So if I were to pull up a calculator, because everybody uses their computer as a calculator all the time, right? So 3.25 times 2.411338 equal to 7.8368485. And then I can divide that by our current measure of 3.62. So we divide by 3.62. And this is our new scale. And I'll probably only take that out to like 6 decimal places because this is a lot of math. I'm very aware. 1, 6, 4, 8, 7, 5. There we go. So now, if I plug into here 2.164875, we see that the measure from here to here has changed to 3.25 inches, and math has made us victorious. And I can tell by by truly just how many viewers there are that was super exciting to you all. But it is a question that I get asked a lot, so I can refer people to here now because this, I think, has been extremely informative. So now we are actually ready to print. We go to File, go to Print. You can print to PDF. You can make it a PDF by clicking Print to PDF, but today we actually want to print it. So I'm going to go to Print. Hopefully, there we go. And then what I am going to do is go to Properties first because I'm cheap, so I print everything on draft. And then we're going to print pages 1 to 4 and make sure that our output is in the right place. And that's really all there is to it. We're going to click OK, and we're going to print it. I'm not going to click OK right now because I already did the thing. In fact, we are going to jump all the way over to the table. Phenomenal. This is great. And now, isn't this just what you all really longed for? Here, in case anybody still needed some of that math, this is what that problem looks like. That right there is the solution. So, you know, take a screen grab. You can punch that math in yourself later if you need, or just work it out yourself. Oh, good evening, Melvin. Good evening. All right, so I've actually got this all printed out already. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, and they are all labeled. So they are labeled progressively. 1 out of 4, row 1, column 1. 2 out of 4, row 1, column 2. 3 out of 4, row 2, column 1. And 4 out of 4, row 2, column 2. And when we say rows, we mean lateral. And when we say columns, we mean vertical. So the columns line up vertically, and the rows line up laterally. So we'll have 4 pages lining up in the center here. I'm actually going to move this camera in, and we're going to get a really good shot of this, because I really want to clarify what it is I'm talking about here. All right, so here's what's going on here. We have page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. And they all line up at the center. And you can see they've all got these sort of cross marks. And those are the alignment marks. Those are what let us know where these all line up. So we're going to start taping these together. But before we do, we have to do just a little bit of cutting, because we can't just set these next to each other, because there's this blank margin that will just overlap and prevent us from seeing our parts. So what we're going to do is on one of the pages, but not both, we are going to go through and cut the margin off. We start at right on the line of one of those crosshairs. We're just going to cut the margin entirely off, so that now when I line these up, I can line the cross marks up, and the lines of the pattern also line up. And that's how you press these together. I'm going to get some tape for this. I use masking tape to put my patterns together. The reason for that is, first and foremost, it's crazy cheap. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly in my eyes, it's very easy to write over, I find. Like I can Sharpie over this stuff. I can even doodle on a pen or pencil. It's a lot easier than I think, say, duct tape, or if you've ever used Scotch tape, you can use Scotch tape to do this, but Scotch tape is very, very difficult to write on, so it becomes a whole extra thing. Now, as I'm saying this and extolling the virtues of masking tape, I am, of course, seeing this roll just want to rip constantly. There we go. So what we're going to do is take a big long strip, and making sure everything is lined up, just ever so carefully press it straight down. And now 2 pages together here. We got row 1, column 1, and row 1, column 2. I'm also going to add some tape on the back so that it doesn't try to like fold along that edge. But I can be a little more discerning with this. I can kind of just put it where I need it rather than across the whole thing, because we don't want to be too wasteful. This hobby's already wasteful enough, man. There we go. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing again, but I'm going to do it at the bottom. I'm going to stick one column to another. Again, lining up those marks, making sure that everything is sitting together properly. And sometimes there's a little bit of wood in your print. That's okay. We're not too concerned about that. What is important is that these lines do actually line up. Now, I don't need to put tape along this whole thing, because the only part that's actually joined is all the way up there. So again, just a little bit of tape on the back to keep everything nice and strong, so these patterns last a while, even though I'm printing them out again. And then we're going to need to do the same thing we just did, except now we're doing it across one of these all the way up to the top. And I think I'm actually going to cut off this right here, and I tell you why. I'm actually very comfortable with the fact that this is a little weak here and it wants to wooge a little bit like that, because this might not be perfectly lined up, so if I need to kind of move them apart or together a little bit, that's okay. Here we go. now I can take this and, again, lining up our marks. And I've got 3 of them now. I can line up the middle and the sides here, making sure that all my lines are lining up. Take a big piece of masking tape and just press it down. And there we go. One more piece just right there, because it doesn't want to lay down. That's okay. There's a lot of tape in the center here, but that's all right. It's kind of an important join. Now, before I cut this out, I do a couple more things as a crafter that I think are pretty important. Either with a pen, or I'll try... Do I have a pencil? Oh God, do I not have a pencil? Oh man, I'm a bad crafter. Okay, I guess I'll use a pen. Sweet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go through and gently smooth out some of these lines, because Pepakura is great, but it's not perfect. So in order to get it a little closer to perfect, all I do is just kind of smooth over some of the more jagged areas. Like in the inside of this ear, we want to cut that smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pen and ever so gently redraw the line just a little smoother, sort of connecting any areas that feel like they might have tiny gaps or be just a little jagged. And that way we'll end up with a final product that's a lot smoother, a lot cleaner. There we go. And I'll do the same thing at the front here, because I want this to be nice and smooth and clean. This isn't because I don't have, like, faith in my patterns. It's because I know that I can always do a little bit more. There we go. Again with the eye here. And just over the back here, because I know that this is a little jagged. And that's okay, because my final product won't be. Yeah, it's worth noting that if any of you have been cutting out like big round shapes with lots and lots of small jagged edges and expecting a smooth result, it's not coming. And that's not because you did poorly, it's just because small jagged lines don't turn into a smooth product without a ton of added work. You're going to need to just cut those lines smooth. I'm also going to edit the fin here, because I like this fin, but I know that the ones on my builds tend to be just a little bit shorter and a little less curved in the front, like that. And then of course I cut this smooth, just like that. And that's the way to get patterns that are going to give you better results than if you just print them straight out and kind of go crazy. I'm going to cut these out and kind of show you the actual real time it takes to cut out even something, a pattern like this where it's pretty simple. I tend to cut out pieces into larger pieces that I can sort of make more manageable here. Because at any given time, really, prop making is just a battle against things that do not want to be made more manageable. Good Lord. There we go. We've got one side of the fin cut out there. And there's the other side. Awesome. And that's a pattern for the fin. It's a pretty straightforward template, I won't lie. I am actually going to employ the use of a knife for cutting out some of this other pattern, just because I think it'll take less time, especially in the eye here, rather than trying to poke my scissors through the center of this piece of paper. I'm just going to take an X-Acto knife and cut out the shape of the eye. And note that I kind of redrew this anyway, so if you don't like the shape of this eye, you can always, you know, draw a new shape. That's just where the eye goes. Don't worry about it. Don't wig yourself out about the correctness of really anybody's templates. Worry about what looks good to you. Because if it doesn't look good to you, it doesn't matter how, like, technically correct a thing might be. You're gonna hate it. Here we go. No future was there in London for a poor man's son like me. So I left my home and went to seek my fortune on the sea. I signed aboard a pirate ship bound for the West Indies, and 6 weeks out we packed into the winds of piracy. There were sails on the horizon, and we tried to make a run. And when we saw that black flag, then our run and it was done. And when those pirates boarded us, they told us one by one, you can die or join our crew, me boys. Time flies when you're having rum. Time flies when you're having rum, me boys. Time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough. Time flies when you're having rum. With a pistol to my forehead, then my choice was all too clear. I took leave of that merchant ship and became a buccaneer. And though they spared my life, I think that if the truth be told, I joined them for the promise of adventure, rum, and gold. The quartermaster handed me a cutlass and a gun, and as I signed their articles, the captain told me, son, us gentlemen of fortune live life fast and on the run. So step right up and take your share. Time flies when you're having rum. Time flies when you're having rum, me boys. Time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough. Time flies when you're having rum. Whoa, there we go. There we go. Cutting out curved pieces, really intensely curved pieces like the ear part here can always be a little bit of a doozy. But just, you know, stay the course. Be gentle with it. Do what you can. I'm also going to sort of highlight my tick marks here by just going in with a Sharpie, because I think that makes it a little clearer for me at least, so I don't forget anything. There we go. Oh, the year was 1778. How I wish I was in Sherbert now. A letter of marque came from the king to the scummiest vessel I've ever seen. God damn them all. I was told we'd cruise the seas for American gold. We'd fire no guns, shed no tears. Now I'm a broken man on Halifax pier, the last of Barrett's privateers. Oh, sit Barrett private town. How I wish I was in Sherbert now. There you can kind of see the pieces already taking shape. This pattern folds in on itself like this. You can see all those alignment marks line up pretty well. And that's how it goes together. And this is just sort of a mark to suggest sort of where vaguely the fin begins. I'm going to show you guys another little tip and trick here. Is a tip or a trick. Could be worth each. Because this is symmetrical and because this meets along this edge, I can actually make some really fun tick marks for myself. So periodically along this, what I can do is I can cut out a little triangle from the edge so that when I go through and trace the edge, it traces sort of a triangle, just like that, little divot there, onto my foam, and I can use those to line up my foam rather than just those tick marks right there. These will actually sort of, shall we say, write themselves directly into the tracing of the pattern. So it's a little fun trick you can use. It's pretty easy, and you can do it as many times as you need, really. If you're worried about this pattern getting away from you, you can add like 20 of those along this and line every single one of them up. But if you don't feel like you need that, you don't need to do that. Hell, I think when I made those 2 Dr. Fate helmets recently, you can check them out on our Facebook page right now. I made like maybe 2 of these. It's like, because I put the ends together. I wanted one near where the actual fin met. And I think I did one more near the back just to make sure I didn't get off from the overall. But I think that this is, that's all we're going to need. It's pretty simple. And it's something that you can do yourself. These patterns are down below in the description. And you feel free to modify them as much as you want, however you want. They're a lot of fun. But if anybody asks you where you got them, you be sure to let them know that I sent you this way. So I'd really love to keep going on this Pepakura Tuesday. We're only 30 minutes in. It's been a ton of fun so far. I'm probably not going to re-rig up the camera, so I might just turn the me camera off, but we can still do some more Pepakura. For anybody who wants to chill out, I'm going to be talking more about my Mando stuff. So let's just kind of jump in. I'm going to switch us over here. Let's see. All right. Here, let's kill that. And let's open up. I've got a set of Mando trousers right here. So this is actually something that I've been working on quite a bit recently, as you can imagine. This is part of our ongoing Mando series that we've been doing. You can see, actually, I've not unfolded part of this. I found the boots and the left shin wholly unhelpful, especially since this isn't actually like a solid piece, this part. It's just like a band, and then this knee, which is very famously basically the exact same knee that Boba Fett has, but it's like a deep royal blue. So I didn't feel the need to unfold any of that, or these guys, because those will mostly be freehand. But the rest of this I've actually unfolded, so I'll kind of let you have a little bit of a look here, as I've already cleaned up most of these lines. So what I've got here is I've got the outer edge of the right thigh plate, which I think has, move this mic a little closer, I think this has turned out pretty nice. I'm really quite happy because I was able to, with a little bit of woodging, I think I might hide those lines, I actually sort of woodged the cut lines together so that it's all one piece across this here. And that way, when we go to cut it out, we can actually cut this out as one piece. And you can either layer it over each of these pieces individually, or you could just cut this piece out twice. Once whole all together, and then once as just the outer edge bits. And that might actually end up being what I do. So I'm just going to take this whole hog and set it up here. Actually, I'm gonna be terribly safe here and just check. Yep, letter, big margins, awesome. We just had a big thing about that, didn't we? So I'm actually going to take this thigh piece, set it up here. Tomorrow, rather than Thursday, I think tomorrow we are going to try and assemble some of these pieces live for you folks, because Thursday I am actually getting together with some friends for the first time in a long time to play some D&D virtually. I'm not getting together with them in person, well, both regrettably and necessarily. Because, you know, COVID's a real thing, and we want to make sure everybody's staying safe out there. That extends to all of you. I hope all of you are staying safe. Let's see, this is the back of the right shin. See, his right shin is really the only one that's fully constructed, if you will. So I'm really excited about that, because I think this is going to look really quite sharp. This is the one I'm most excited about, because it's a fully constructed piece. It's fully wrapped around. Oh, let's see. This is the bottom here. I'm gonna set this like on its own page over here as like an optional set. Let's see. This here is all of this part, actually. This is all that one shin. Because when Star Wars adds detail, it adds all the detail. That's the thing. The Beskar pieces generally are super clear and clean. And then all the other stuff he has just a ton of dinge to it. These pieces on the hips, I think, actually are supposed to have some detail along these lines. So I'm going to try and add that back in along these lines, just so that my pattern kind of follows what's going on for real in the texture there. Because this model is really, really fun, but it doesn't have a ton of texture. It has, I shall say, just enough texture. Oh boy. This is definitely one of those builds where it's a bit of flying by the seat of the pants, but it's also a lot of like working very, very hard to make sure that I am getting all the detail I need and none of the detail I don't. So, to that end, let's go ahead and see if we can stick. I'll probably get most of these bigger plates on like 1 page per piece, which is nice because then I don't have to combine pages. I don't have to stick stuff together. And actually, they might be identical. I think I might just do the one because in shape they're basically the same piece. So we're going to move that over here again as kind of like an optional piece. And then this is the cod piece. And we've got the butt plate. Got another butt plate. We might try to stick that over here so that it kind of has somewhere to live in terms of where the shape meets other shapes. Sweet. Then this is the belt. I actually might not unfold the belt either because that's all hidden in the texture. Basically, for all the leather bits that I'm doing, and I'm doing some leather bits, I'm going to do the bandolier, and I'm going to do the belt, among a couple other small pieces. Of course, some of this has leather on it. But this belt, I think, might be better suited as like its own pattern that I will draft up later. So I think these two guys probably just move off into the distance. Let's see here, and then this. Oh, that's super nice how that just sort of fits together there with just enough space for that guy here. This is this cool little silver piece that'll sort of rest on top of the shin near the top, obviously. And then these longer parts sort of wrap around the shin, which is really fun for me because I am always just constantly amazed by how much just raw material it takes to wrap a part of the human form. Because you think like, oh, I can just wrap my hand around it, but then you try to like lay that out and you're like, well, it wasn't quite enough, so I've got to get it out to there. So it's pretty long. Your body is bigger than you think it is, and that's a good thing, I think. We are more substantive than it seems at first. Here we go. We can jam that right here, jam this right there, and then can I get this? Okay, so, oh god, that's gross. I don't like that. Can I? Let me get this on 1 page. Oh god, that's terrible. Okay, because it doesn't matter where these go technically anyways, I'm just gonna put them all the way down here so that they're at the end of like the printing cycle. And that way, I'll go like this. Can I stick this here? Does that fit? Yeah, that fits. Okay, cool. So now, this is lower armor minus the knee. So we got both hip plates, cod, butt, both thighs, and the full right shin, which is the more complicated shin. Right shin forever. So now, I get rid of the texture. You can see it's pretty simple parts. There's going to be a lot of fun detailing in the paint job, which I'm very excited for. And this relies heavily on the construction of like flap versus layered joins that we talk a lot about on this channel. So these patterns are already going to be available to my patrons, unlike the Dr. Fate templates, which are down below, totally ready to go for anybody who wants to try them out right now. But there is going to be a build guide coming out for that pretty darn soon. But tomorrow we attack the lower body armor of the Mandalorian on live stream. Thursday, no live stream, probably a video instead, which is very exciting indeed. Very exciting indeed. So let's save this. Ooh, if it will save. All right. And then I'll just kind of show you as well the way this works in terms of printing, because when I go to print it, it only wants to print pages 1 to 15. So if we actually go through, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then this would be 14, 15. It's not going to print these 2 pages. It's not going to print these 3 pages because there's nothing on them, which is why it's super important that when you print all of the page numbers, because those will tell you where all of these things go, which is super important for Pepakura patterns, which is part of the big reason I kind of wanted to do tonight, because I could tell some people were getting confused by some of my older builds. Like, oh, whoops. Like, I know that there are people who went through and have done things like, oh gosh, there's so much going on here. I think this is my, no, this is it. Like, gone through and done my Captain Rex build, who were so confused, especially on the PDF. So what I actually went through is I went through and I tried to label everything, but even that isn't going to be super clear once you cut everything out. It's way easier to just have Pepakura open and to make sure that you're printing your page numbers, your alignment marks, and setting yourself up for success, because it's such a versatile program. And you guys really deserve all of the time and effort that goes into this kind of stuff. Because it's pretty straightforward once you've got all the pieces. I want to give just a huge shout out to my patrons. You guys have been really keeping me going lately. I have had a ton of fun, talking with you guys, putting out new special, like, patrons only patterns. That's been a ton of fun for me. And I'm really, really appreciative of the fact that you guys have been sticking around, because there's some new stuff coming down the pipeline. That's going to be really fun. We're going to clear Mando from our table soon. We're going to get this packed and shipped, and it's going to be real fun for my client. And of course, we've got a couple other small things that we can get going. So I'm very excited. I want to thank everybody who showed up for the live stream. Frankly, this has been a really fun one. It's been a little unorthodox, and hopefully next week we just kind of dig in on some more, I don't know, probably more Star Wars. Do some more Star Wars. That sounds like fun. Where on earth did I... Oh, yeah, that's right. This is TIE Fighter here. I wonder, where did I put my troopers? There it is. Did I put a trooper in here? I don't know. We've got a few more minutes here. Why don't I just open something and we can start on it? We can just kind of chat. If anybody has any questions, as always, I love fielding questions, so please let me know if you have any. Diz K did a pretty good job with this file, but I think that there's places we can go further. So I'm going to undo this unfold. Man, this live stream has really become everything. You have a good night, Melvin. Let's see here. I am going to... Yep, we're going to sort of try and follow this line vaguely. Oh, I really want... I'm going to do something disgusting to this model, because I want to edit it, but I want to do it quickly. So I'm going to divide all of these edges like this and follow this line straight across. Bear with me here. Whoops. Bear with me. I know, this is just the worst way I could be doing it, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And see, now I've created a straight line through the middle of all of these, through the power of Pepakura, without having to open up any other modeling software. which is really the reason I do it, because I'm lazy. So now, when I go to edit mode, specify these cut line edges, you can see I can actually sort of follow this. Oh, weird. I actually kind of wanted it to... Okay, well, we'll just do that. That's fine. I might smooth between those edges. And now, pop, 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 I can actually follow the line and the texture and make this perhaps a little smoother of a build. Or at least give me something to hang on to when I inevitably have to make something more substantive for these lines. Let's see here. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. What I don't like, though, I don't like this background color. I'm gonna change it real quick. Settings, other settings. Got a color. I don't know. Let's make the bottom color like deep maroon. How's that look? Ooh, yeah, that's spicy. I don't know. This color on his texture map has like a green to the black. That's kind of weird. I am going to... Yeah, we're going to take a moment. We're going to smooth this model. We're going to smooth from the here to here, because I'd actually really like that to be smoother than it is. So if I'm just going to do that, I'm going to click go. Hey, it's not perfect, but it will do. Oh, actually, I didn't do that here, and it turned out way better. So I might just get rid of that line. For anybody who was confused why I put this extra line here, it was so it would create a harsh point, but I actually think I don't want that harsh point. So I'm going to go like this, click go, and look at that. That is way smoother. I like that. That's fantastic. So then I'm just going to kind of follow this edge running up. Oh, weird. Okay, so I definitely want to follow this here, but then it seems like I want to jump. So I'm going to go to 3D mode, edit menu, edit model, swap edge. I'm going to swap this edge so that I can follow along that curve. And I'm going to make sure it's doing the same thing on this side. Because now when I go through and I get 3D mode, edit mode, specify cut line edges, whew, there we go. I can just follow that curve to there. And it's a clear place for us to separate our lines, which is the important thing here. There we go. Doing the same thing, running around the other side, just making sure we've got some very clean Sith Trooper templates. I love that they're called Sith Troopers. I don't think anybody ever calls them Sith Troopers, like in the actual movie, which is crazy because there was no reason for a redesign for Rise of Skywalker. That didn't need to happen, but it did. It happened. There we go. I double clicked those lines to make them sort of wrap around that edge really quickly, and then I double clicked the ones I didn't want to try and make them disappear as cleanly as possible. So we'll try and keep that all as one edge here. I think we're going to want to, we're going to want to kind of copy what DizK did with the inner edge, because we're going to want to separate it right here, I think. Unless I can keep it together, then I could just make it a groove. I might do that. Follow me for more unfiltered stream of conscious. Here we go. This is not an important, whoa. Okay. Oh, really? Okay, I might just remove these manually because I like the rest of the line I created. So, and then I'm going to split this down the middle just so that I've got symmetry when it auto unfolds. Because I'm going to need to do a lot of cleanup on this, don't get me wrong, but it's still a good model. Let's see, oh my god, why? Why does it do that? That's awful. I hate this. Oh, okay. Okay. Right, I'm gonna just start doing more of this by hand now. Because regrettably, the contours of this model really want to fight me. So we're just gonna, whoops. Undo the ones we don't want, leaving anything that we do want. It's like, ideally, this is a really, really great place to separate this part, because it's also got that, it's got that detail line, but it's also got a very sharp edge here in the actual construction of the piece. So it makes sense to separate the piece right there. I don't know. This is actually like a model I haven't done a ton of prep work on, so you're actually getting a lot of unfiltered thoughts about me and how I would sort of work to make sure that this actually comes together properly. This is fun. This is the way I think about model making in Pepakura all the time. It's very fun for me. It's very satisfying, frankly. Try and make that more symmetrical. Get rid of some of these unnecessary lines. Okay, yeah, now we're getting somewhere. Now you can kind of see where it gave up, so to speak. Oh, come on. There we go. That's better. Oh yeah, this should be pretty easy to unfold once I get out of the 3D. This is a lot simpler than I thought it was. Oh wow, yeah, no, that's great, because now I can also do the same thing and sort of separate the symmetry there. Yep. This is more separated than I want it to be. Yeah, no, because I want this to actually break along this very clean edge right here. There we go. You can really see how this also just highlights the contours of the piece itself, because this is a much more jagged and angular build than the last one was. I think I need to actually go again. I'm going to go to Edit Model, and I'm going to split this, or excuse me, divide this edge, because now I've got more of a straight line between those 2 points there. Unless, there we go. That's the line we want. So need to bust up this larger one and then bust this one up. And then we've got edges almost exactly where we need them. And actually, I might even smooth those over. Yep. We're going to 3D menu, edit model. Nope. 3D menu, edit mode, subdivide edges. And we're going to subdivide along this curve as well as that back curve to create sort of a grooved line there. Yeah, that'll be perfect. It'll be way, way simpler. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to do that one more time because I want to smooth those lines up a little bit further to like there. Yeah. Oh, that's way better. Yay! Oh, God, I love it when a plan comes together, man. I love it. Oh, man. Okay, so then I think I might try to keep this all sort of one piece along here, doing a groove underneath the bridge up there. And we'll see how simple we're actually able to keep that once all is said and done. And of course, this will wind up going in our troopers folder and our ongoing love affair with every single possible stormtrooper we could even imagine. But yeah, this will sort of be big blocky faces. But this is more or less done. I'll probably wind up sort of making another piece along here, sort of like that, sort of along this groove. and same on the other side. But this is generally where I want it to be. I think I will sign off now. It's been really good. I'm glad we stayed on and did some extra stuff. Hopefully this will be done pretty soon. Thanks everybody who showed up. This has been really, really great. Love y'all. Take care.